What's up, YouTube? In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I trade trendline breaks and simple flag type patterns in the stock market for a profit. Now, this is a strategy that I've developed over the past 4 years. It is a 4-hour time frame strategy, but ultimately it has a very high probability of success. I use it on a daily basis to consistently pull out profits in the stock market. Okay, I'm going to show you guys Netflix here on the 4-hour time frame. Now, what I first want to do is place a trend line over the previous high and lower highs. Okay, so we have the first high here, and then we're just going to drape a trend line across the wicks until we connect a couple of them. Okay, you need at least 2, but 3 is preferable. You can have upwards of 3 or 4 or 5. This one we get like 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is going to be the 4th test of this trend line that ultimately becomes a break and an entry point for us to trade it upwards to the next support resistance level. So what we first need to see is an action candle. What I call an action candle. It's a big candle. It shows buying. It shows volume. Ultimately, it shows direction. Okay. Now, not only do we need the action candle, we need to pair it with the MACD turning upwards and starting to create green bars. Okay. Once we have a break of a trend line, that big candle, and then the first green bar on the MACD, that is our entry point for this trade. Okay. So I believe the next candle will be our break. Okay, guys, right there. So because this is the first candle to break above our trend line, that is our entry point. So it doesn't matter at what time you see this happening, as long as it's within this 4-hour time frame and this 4-hour candle, that is our entry, because we got all 3 signals happening at once. Okay, break of a trend line, we got this big action candle, and then we just got the MACD turning green. Okay, then what we want to do is just trade it up to the next support resistance level and get out. So the next level is here, because you can see we've had a couple touch points at this level and price couldn't break. We did have one candle that broke above it here, but then that's what actually is creating our trade right now, because this was a failed break, fell back below support here, resistance, and now we're trying to trade it back up to new highs. So we've entered in, say we entered here at around the first break of the trend line, so let's say 635, and then we're trying to trade it up above 651.27. And in my back testing of this strategy, we get 3 to 5 bars on the MACD before we need to get out and ultimately price retraces. Let's press play. Okay, so we want a break of the trend. There we go. So now we've got a break of the resistance level. Okay, this candle didn't close above it, but it attempted and then fell back below, but that doesn't matter. We just wanted to see price break above this candle high, which was 651.58. Now we've got a break of that. So in this candle, we need to exit the trade. Okay, so regardless though, we traded it from, let's say, the 635 level up to around 651. So $15 move that would have been a nice day trade, or maybe upward around 2 days of a trade, but still would have been a nice profit and a considerable high quality trade on this channel. But so now what we want to do, because usually what happens on a break of a trend line, we're going to go test the high, the very first candle that created the trend line. So now what we want to do is watch the stock until we get a break above this support resistance line, and then we can enter again for price to reach upwards of the 663 level. So let's watch and see what the stock does now. Okay, so we're getting a rejection at 651 and price is retreating. Okay, so another thing I like to do is as I'm watching the stock, I like to start to connect lower highs for new trendline breaks. So as you see here on Netflix, we're now getting another high and another lower high. So I would drape a trend line. We're just going to start a new trend line across using these highs, okay? And then we're going to wait for it to break our trend line again and also break this support resistance level, and then we can trade it up for another profitable trade. So let's watch Netflix now for another action candle. We want an action candle to break above our trend line and then the MACD to start turning green again. Okay, perfect. So here is our next entry. We got our first break of the trend line, just peeking its head over the trend line. But that is a valid buy signal because we're also pairing it with the MACD starting to turn green and back up in our favor. So now what we're going to do, let's say we enter at the top of this candle, 648. We want to place our stop loss at the low of this entry candle. So the low is 641.37. At 641.36, that would be our exit, our stop loss if this trade so happened to turn around and go against us. But with our paired signals, all right, the three signals I like to use, it doesn't happen that often. So you can feel confident in your trade that as long as you use these signals, that it's going to go in your favor, right? Mentally, you want to at least think that the trade is always going to go in your favor. The moment you start telling yourself that maybe it's not going to work out, that, oh, you're stupid for entering, this doesn't look like it's going to go your way, you're talking yourself out of the trade. So do not do that, okay? Keep a positive mindset that the trade is going in your favor, okay? And just also try to keep it solely about the numbers, right? The number that's the low of this candle, that 641.36 I was talking about, that number, there's no emotion attached to that number. Just the second it gets triggered, if it does, you exit. And then also you want to keep your take profit number in your head. So the moment that take profit gets hit, there's no emotion attached to it. You just get out because that is your strategy. Or that's my strategy, but I'm showing you guys so you can use it as well. But I'm also teaching you because I've back tested this strategy so many times, and say I've tried to hold things longer than I should have. If I hold below the low of this candle, it's usually an even bigger loss. It turns into bigger and bigger losses. So you don't want to do that. And then also, once it's hitting your take profit, you don't want to hold longer, because what ends up happening is your profits start to diminish. You'll see a break of the trend line or your resistance, and then all of a sudden it falls back below, and then you start getting emotional in your head like, oh, I told myself this number was where I was going to get out, but I held it longer. Now prices turn around on me. It's now below where I told myself I was going to enter. So now I'm mad, and let's just hold this longer and lose more and more profit. If you just keep it about the numbers, you won't lose as much. So let's see what Netflix does here after we got a break of this candle. And let's say we put our stop in at the low of the candle. So really I'd put an alert here, but when I'm doing replay, it's not going to let me put an alert. But the low is actually right there. So if price closes below this candle, that's our exit. Let's see what happens. So now we're just going to watch the MACD, see what it does. We don't want it to turn purple again, but if it does, we still just don't want it to break below our trend line. Okay, look. So now we've gotten price to ultimately break above the previous resistance that it was trying to break here. And then we got to push towards our previous all-time high right there. And we're creating a new one. So that was the perfect entry on this trend line break to trade it up to this level and new all-time highs, the 663 level. And then we actually got an even bigger push higher. And then now we're getting the RSI to start showing an overbought level. And then I know if we go back, say, into the 2 hour, or if we drop down even into the 1, yeah, see, we're already oversold on these time frames. So that's now signaling exit to us. So like, yeah, we were watching the 4 hour, but in these lower time frames, it was also showing us that an exit was nearing. So even on the 1 hour here, if we were to just use the 1 hour MACD, it was showing us here on this first lighter bar that we got that it was about to retrace. So even if we would have got out on that first lighter bar, well, it would have been close to the all-time high anyway. So if it was that bar right there, we only missed the all-time high by $2 or $3. So regardless, you just wanna watch for the signals. You want to watch for the price levels to be hit and then exit. Okay, because ultimately those are winning trades. Okay, entries are perfect, and then the exits at support resistance are also perfect. So that is all I have for you guys in this video. I know it may not have been perfect and I may have messed up a couple things, but I promise you that this strategy works. So if you apply it the way that I do, you can become consistently profitable in the stock market. Okay, guys, I wish you the best, and I'll bring you another video soon. Goodbye.